Hello, my name is Janisa Simmons, and I am a principal user experience designer. Today, I want to tell you about my favorite design tool, Justinmind. Justinmind is an advanced interaction design tool that allows you to prototype large websites with multiple pages and multiple templates and multiple interactions down to very small, particular micro interactions. I love this tool because it has real input fields such as radio buttons, checkboxes, and text areas. Also, you can prototype multiple actions on the same event. And you can use logic and conditions in order to simulate real scenarios.
So in today's example, we're going to start out with a grocery list where you can edit the items, you can add an item, and you can also delete the items.
Let's get started. So first, let's launch the application and let's create a new prototype. So this is the user interface for Justinmind. You have different palettes, and for example, libraries is a palette. This will have all of your and tools and components and widgets. You have your layers, which we'll start to see, fill in. You have your different screens that you can have, your various screens. You have your properties as well as your events. Your events are all of the prototyping that you can do. And here in the middle is where you see whatever screen that you're working on. So for the grocery list that we had for our example, let's go ahead and get started. So let's start with our libraries. And as you can see, you have various widgets and components that you can use. Also at the top, you will see that you can use any one of these as well. This is just a shortcut to the items that are already here. And you have your different drawing tools as well as your text tool, and you have a quick access to some of the interactive elements as well. So let's start with our H1. And here we're going to call it grocery app or grocery list. Okay, so you can easily just type right in there. Now, as you can see, all of the properties are here on the right hand side. Standard properties such as the positioning, the width, the height, all of your formatting, your fonts, your size of the fonts. I am just going to center this using that, and I'm just going to make it a little wider just in case when I simulate it, if for some reason font doesn't work properly, it gives it a little extra room. Okay, other than that, there isn't anything else I want to do right now. Don't need to change the background or borders or anything of that nature. All I need is just this um, text that says grocery list at the top. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is build out the list items. And so I'm going to start with a rectangle. And I want this rectangle to be 650 pixels. And I want the height to be 50 pixels. Alrighty. And so now the next thing I'll do is change the border. And I would like for the border to be a gray color. I'll go with this gray here, which is a CCC. Okay, that looks fine. Now, what I would like to do is round my borders. So I will do that by here where it says round, I'm going to change it to 5. Excellent. I'm gonna zoom in just a little. Okay, great. Now the next thing that I would like to do is have an input field in here. So I'm going to click on this plus icon and I'm going to add an input text field. Okay, I'm going to draw that inside of here. And let's just make it a little, we can go with 500. It's fine. Okay, just trying to get it exact. I'll just go here. Okay, excellent. And I want that to have a font size of 20 pixels. Okay, now I don't want the border on this input field. So I'm going to remove the border by hitting this checkbox right next to the border. Alrighty. And I want the content of this to say milk. So here where it says value, I'm going to type in milk. So we're going to start out with the input field being disabled. And the way we do that is, again, click on that input field. And if you scroll down, let's see. Here it is. Sorry, I went too far. It's right here. So where it says editable, I'm going to say no. Now the next thing that I want to do is add in the icons. So there are two icons that I need. I need a check mark icon, and the reason why I need that is so that after I have edited the milk or the content, I want to be able to save that content with a check mark. And then the other icon I need is a delete icon if I would like to remove an item from the list. So by default, you don't have the icon set in here. And so if you click on this little icon that says library, you can actually add in different libraries. There are certain ones that are already pre-installed. I'm going to go with the Android icons here. Okay, excellent. So I am going to search for an edit icon and a trash icon. Oops, sorry, not edit, a check mark. Alrighty, so here is a check icon, which actually came in by default. And then I will also add in a trash icon. Mm, maybe it's delete. There we are. Okay. Okay. There we have it. This is the building blocks for our list. Now, I would like to add some interactions. Let's start with the input field first. So by default, the input field is not going to be editable. However, when the user clicks into the input field, we want to make the input field editable. So first thing that we're going to do is add an event. When the user clicks, then we are going to enable the input. Okay? And make sure you select the input. You can either select it right here or you can select it in the layers. And make sure that you pay attention to which, if you enabled it or disabled. So we're going to go with enable. Okay, excellent. So now that's going to be enabled when I click on the input field. Now next, when I click on that input field, I also want to change the color of the background. So on click, sorry, I should have showed you that quicker. So right next to that initial action, the on click, and you're going to enable, you can also add another action by clicking this button here. Now, what we want to do is change the style of this input field. And I want to change the background color. And I want that color to be gray. So I'm going to go with this gray here, which is EF, EF, EF. Now you could add in animations here, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, now the next thing that I would also like to do is when I click on this item, I also want to make sure that we focus in on that item so that we can make whatever changes are needed. So I'm going to add one more action here. And we're going to say set focus on input field. And you're going to set the focus to this input field. Now, the very last thing that I want to do is to make the check mark visible. So on click, we're going to show the check mark. Okay, so those are the actions for your input field. Let's take a look at it by hitting the play button here. Okay, excellent. So when I click on this item, I can change it. Okay. All right, that's it for now. Actually, there's one more thing that we need to do, and it's going to go hand in hand with the next action. So now what we need to do is, now that we thought about what happens in order to enable this input field so that you can make changes, now what we want to do is save those changes. So there are two ways in which you want to save the changes. You want to save the changes by hitting enter, and you also want to save the changes by clicking on the check mark. So let's start with the check mark first. So here's the check mark. So first of all, what we need to do is make the check mark hidden by default. So on the right hand side in the properties pane, you will see this little eye icon, which allows me to hide this check mark by default. So just click that and it's hidden by default. So when the page loads, it'll be hidden. Now, let's add an action to that. Or let's add an event. So on click, we will, first of all, we need to disable the input field. So let's disable this milk input field. Okay, excellent. We also need to change the color back to white. So let's do that. On click, we want to change the style of this. We want to change that background color, and it's already here. It's in white. Okay. Now, the next thing we'd like to do, or is that everything? On click. Oh, the last thing we'd like to do is hide the check mark. Add event. We want to hide the element of this check mark here. Okay. Excellent. So that's what we want to do there. So let's take a look at that. So there's no check mark when I click into milk. The check mark shows because we had that action there. I'm going to change this to almond milk. And I am going to save that change. Perfect. Now the last thing that I want to do is to have those same actions to occur when I hit enter. Just go back to our prototype, and on this input field, let's add a new event on keyboard on key up. And the key that we want is the enter key. So I could literally put in any key. You can't see me typing, but I can type in any key. But I'm just going to type in the enter key. So when I click on the enter key, then I want to disable that input, this input here. Hit OK. And to be honest, everything that happens on the check mark, every event that happens from the check mark, I actually want to copy those events onto this key up. So that's what I'm going to do. So if I click on that check mark, as you can see, you have all of the events here, or you have all of the actions from the click event. So I'm just going to copy those actions. I'm going to go to my key up and I'm going to paste those actions. And I actually need to delete this one. It should have been disabled. So let me just delete that one. Okay, excellent. That's it. So let's hit play. Almond milk. When I hit check, there we have it. I can always click back in and make another change. Alrighty, so now I want to move on to the trash can icon. So first, I would like to group this entire section, select the entire thing, and what you can do is you can right click and hit the word group, or you can have a shortcut. You can use the shortcut Command G or Control G if you're using a Windows computer. So if we look on the left hand side, we now see, if you look in your layers, you'll see that all of the items are now grouped together. I'm going to change the name of this layer to milk. Okay, now when I click on this trash can icon, I'm going to add an event. And I am going to hide this entire group. So I'm going to hide milk, the entire group. So make sure you click on the proper layer. So let's look at it. When I click on this trash can icon, it hides the entire thing. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to add more items in the list. And I also want to use a dynamic panel for that, because once I use the dynamic panel, as I delete items out of the list will just automatically move, or it will automatically adjust in position. So I'll show you how that works. So first, actually I'm going to create the additional list items so we can duplicate it. Okay, so let's duplicate this first one. I'm going to call this one bread. And let's change the name here to bread. All right, let's duplicate this. And let's call this one eggs. And let's call this one eggs. Okay. And I'm actually going to duplicate it one more time. And this time I'm going to call this, I'm going to actually get rid of the value. So on the right hand side, you can see that there's a value here. I'm going to get rid of that value. And I'm going to put in placeholder text, which is going to be add item. Okay. Now I am going to have a text field right here. And this text field is going to be my control for adding an item. I would also like to add some padding to the top of that. So if you scroll down on the right for your properties, you can see your padding. I'm going to click on this so that it won't apply to all sides. I just need it to apply to the top. So here where it says T, that's the top, and I'm going to change that to 20 pixels. Alrighty, I think I have everything that I need. Now I'm going to select all of these items. I'm going to right click, oops, and group in dynamic panel. Okay, I'm going to show you that one more time. I'm going to select all of these items. I'm going to right click and go to where it says group in dynamic panel. Okay, so this is now in a dynamic panel. The reason why I decided to use this is because when items are in a dynamic panel, you can change the layout, or you can define how you want the layout to work. So right now you have, it's a free layout, so all these items can go in any form. But let me click on the panel. You have the option to have your items to stack horizontally or to stack vertically. And I am going to use the vertical. And now all of my items are stacked vertically. Another nice thing is that you can add some spacing in here as well if you like to. So you can just add a little space in between the list items. So I'll just add maybe 5 pixels in between. Okay. Um, and the nice thing about that is if items are removed, if for some reason they're not showing, then the other items below it will automatically stack, which I love about this tool. So the next thing that I want to show you is the add item. Well, actually, let's take a look at this first before I show you that. So let's hit play. And here are our items. Actually, add item needs to be hidden by default. But if I decide to go in here and make any changes, I can. I can hit enter and it saves. Or I can hit the check mark and it will save those changes. If I decide to delete, watch what'll happen. The items just move up. Okay. So now let's go back and fix this add item. So I'm going to select the layer. Oh, it looks like I forgot to change this one. So let's change this to add item. I'll just call it add item group. Okay. And now I want to make that add item hidden by default. So I'll just go to the right where it says properties and change it to be hidden. The next thing I'll do is add an action to this um, link here that says add item. So when I say add event, on click, I want to show the hidden item, which is add item. But the entire group, make sure you hit the entire group. Don't hit the wrong group. It looks like I made a spelling error, so let me fix that. Add item group. Okay, excellent. Now, let's look at it and then I'll show you one last thing that I want to do just to complete this. So when I click on this item, add item pops open. I can click in there and make whatever changes that I want. What I prefer is that I shouldn't have to click into it because I've already decided that I want to add the item. So I want to already be in this state. So that state just so happens to be the same state as when I click on it. So instead of me going through the motions of redoing all of those actions, I'm just going to copy those actions. So here, I want to copy. Yeah, I want to copy these actions to my add item. Let's copy it here. Now, let's look at it. When I hit add item, I'm already in that state, which is amazing. And let's just add our honey. And there you have it. So that is an overview of what you can do with Justinmind. Please let me know if there's something specific that you want me to go over. There are a ton of events and interactions that you can do with Justinmind. It's my favorite tool, and I just wanted to show you all why. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your presence. Have a wonderful day.